member representing our back federal constituency in the National Assembly, the Honorable Anekan Umana, the landlord of this facility, the press center of Government House, the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Ekerete Udo. The #1 journalist in Akwa Ibom State is also here. I want to introduce Comrade Amos Etuk, Chairman NDJ, Director in the Ministry of Information, representing the entire, of course, organ of information dissemination of the state government is right here, Chief Anekan Ugbong. And of course, we have the chairman of the federal chapter. Oh, we have the senior special assistant to the governor of Akwa Ibom State. Sorry for that slide. I want to introduce to us the man who heads the ICT department of the governor's office, SSA on ICT, Dr. Frank Ekwenyo. I want to introduce the chairman of the federal chapel. You all know him, Comrade Siviet John. The SS of the governor are also here. Start with Comrade Joseph Okun, Comrade Victor Okbong, Engineer Solomon Eyo, Comrade Ofonime Isong, Comrade Ininfon Silas. Thank you, gentlemen. And of course, we have Mr. Samuel Ayara. And of course, we have Comrade Ima Akpabio. And we have also immediate aide to the governor in the ICT department, Comrade Lucy. She's also here. Please, let's put our hands together for her. Gentlemen of the press, you're all welcome. All right, please, can we just space a little so that we can have the, the ambience of this place well established? Thank you very much. You may wish to just keep your bags under the table. Okay. Invite to set the tone for this event the Chief Image Maker of the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, the CPS, Mr. Ekerete Udo.
Thank you, Dr. Sendweso, for the wonderful introduction. I think time is far spent, so I'm not going to dwell on all the protocols and which is saying I'll just go straight to the heart of the matter. During the last engagement His Excellency had with the youth, one of the pronouncements that he made was that he's going to introduce and launch an employment portal where job opportunities and other empowerment schemes that he had announced on that day would be harvested. And of course, that responsibility was given to my very wonderful colleague, Dr. Frank Ekwenyo, and it was given a timeline of execution. And yesterday we had a wonderful meeting with His Excellency where the timelines were pronounced to have been activated. So today we are gathered to formally inform the media that that portal is ready and is due to be launched on Monday, the 21st. And so we ask you to come here and listen to the expert himself, Dr. Frank Ekwenyo, and he's going to take us through the shebangs of the whole portal. But before I yield the microphone to Of course, before Dr. Sam would get to speak, the media consultant would say a few things because it's actually tasked primarily with the responsibility of projecting this portal, and of course we work alongside each other. But before I yield the microphone, and let me say a few housekeeping issues, and I start by thanking the media for correctly interpreting the mood of the state and following the unfortunate passing of Her Excellency, the wife of the governor, Her Excellency Mrs. Patience Umoino. One of the first press release that was put out by the Honorable Commissioner was that at this moment of sadness and bereavement that we should respect the privacy of the family, the first family. And I want to thank you guys for respecting that through your reportage. I mean, we may have seen one or two things here and there, but those things are all comes with the territory. But by and large, the reportage has been decidedly sanitized, and I appreciate that. I thank you guys. About a week and a half ago, the governor had also, in his statewide broadcast to the people of the state, emphatically stated that the full mechanics of governance would run at full swing. Everything would be done seamlessly. And so far, that has been going on. And by next week, we're going to have a rush of commissioning of roads and other infrastructural amenities. So governance is moving at full swing, seamless. Everything is on point, even though we are aggrieved. We are in mourning, but the mechanics of governance continues to run seamlessly. So on that note, let me yield the microphone to my wonderful brother, the media consultant to the governor, my wonderful friend, Honorable Aneka Nomana.
Yes. Thank you very much, CPS, the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Senior Special Assistants to the Governor, media, ICT, and different areas, SS, PSZ, Chairman of NUJ, and our friends and colleagues, and this Profession Director of Information representing the Commissioner for Information, and everyone else in the house. I thank you so much. Let me say good afternoon. But before we do anything, and taking a leave from what the CPS said, I think it's appropriate we just rise as a media community to take a minute silence in honor of our departed First Lady. May the gentle soul of Her Excellency, Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino, rest in peace. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. Just by way of few remarks, so we can leave the business to the man who knows the business. I think I want to add in appreciating our brothers and colleagues, brothers, sisters, and colleagues in doing exactly what the CPS earlier stated, keeping the mood well and respecting the privacy of the family, and also continue to project the state in the right direction. So I add in that appreciation. And like he said earlier, His Excellency the Governor did announce at the Uyo Township Stadium that he will be launching an Arise Youth Employment Portal to ensure that unemployed youths of Akwa Ibom State and underemployed youths of Akwa Ibom State get registered, and then you have them on the data bank, and so that it will be very easy and seamless in harvesting opportunities, skills, and having people employed either in the civil service or in the private sector. So it's making good that promise. The promise keeper is making good that promise. And like he said, he has set October 21st, being Monday, it's not far, just in 5 days, to launch this program so that Akwa Ibom youths can get online and then be able to be registered, and so that the ExxonMobils of this world, in quote, other big organizations who are seeking people will have a repository of qualified youths, skilled youths, people who have the qualifications to work in different places, to be found and placed where they ought to be placed. So the employment is gradually moving from the man, no man, to who knows what. That is where the governor is going. And for the youth of Akwa Ibom State, and I think this is something very good. This is what we see happen internationally or overseas, where databases are created to allow governments and systems do things seamlessly. I recall that His Excellency did say that he wants to, his greatest legacy will be the people of Akwa Ibom State. The people. Yes, it's good to do infrastructure, it's good to do all the roads, it's good to do all that he's doing, but taking care of the people will be his greatest legacy. And this is one of the ways of leaving the legacy of taking care of the people. Yes? He has demonstrated that through what he's doing with pensions, gratuities, and emoluments, and so on, caring for the people. And of course, you saw that demonstrated during the last local government election, where in all nooks and crannies, old and young, everybody was jostling to vote for the party that the governor represents because they are happy. And I think we shouldn't take this for granted. I want to add in urging you to support the initiative, listen very carefully to the details of the Arise Youth Employment Portal that Frank is about presenting, so that you can also present this to the public and to the community in the exact manner, factual manner that you will get to know today. I thank you once again and say may God bless you and bless you real good. So at this point,
thank you very much, the Honorable Media Consultant to the Akwa Ibom State Government. At this point, I think you may have to bring out your notepads because you may have some writing to do. If you have your flash drive, you also get them handy if you need to do some copying. Whatever the gadget will be, as we invite the man who eats, drinks, and swims inside the computer for the state government of Akwa Ibom State to sensitize us on what it takes to be on the Akwa Ibom State Arise Youth Employment Portal. Dr. Frank Ekpeyon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. First of all, permit me to rest on the established protocol. I think the SSA did it, the CPS has done it as well. So, please let me rest on that protocol. The meeting is quite brief and to the point. I expect everyone to ask a lot of questions. The motive is straightforward. The objective is one and one only. Understand what the governor wants to do with the employment portal. Understand how we're going to deploy this. If you don't understand, you cannot share the information. Without being told, I understand the role of media, in anything, and more so in governance, for example, or in a democracy like this. Obviously you are to help inform the citizens. Most of them would not understand, but when they hear from you, they would understand. So you help us amplify, if you like, spin, the information we'll put out here today, in a way that they would understand and perhaps, take advantage of this opportunity. What I've tried to do, I always try to follow a PowerPoint slide just to guide, the discussion, but feel free to ask questions. For me, success here will be everybody understands, everybody asks questions, and more importantly, everybody have what to take home with. That is success. If you don't understand anything we're saying, please ask questions. As you can imagine, this is something novel. Maybe employment portals is not all over the world. The different employment portals, the different databases, holding different information for different things. But as you can imagine, for us, Akwa Ibom, this is new. This is brand new. So it means that some of the things we're doing won't be quite what people would expect. So maybe we've not seen it well. There's something called a developer's, if you like us, we don't see those things, but you can see it. So ask us a question. Hopefully we'll be able to improve it further. I always like to start with a bit of background history. If you remember very well, I think I stand corrected. I should have been on the 1st of August, I hope. There's supposed to be some demonstration with the Nigerian youths. And before that, obviously, you do remember and recall very well, His Excellency the Governor invited some youth, people, and they had a chat and perhaps discuss why they shouldn't, take part in the protest. And after that, obviously, the youths did well. We had a very peaceful, state, if you like, during that process. And the governor, in his reaction to say thank you, addressed the youth once again and came up with the youth charter, right? So we're quite familiar with that. I'm not going to go through the details of the charter, but what I will try to do is just highlight, how this employment portal, came into existence, and more importantly, the features that would influence the portal. Should I go this way? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I really have to obey the CPS if I want to go back here. Yes. So, yeah, I have this on the screen. For example, the governor on the day, you remember very well, the Rio Stadium, did promise that he's going to get 5,000 youths and perhaps pay them 50,000 for a month for 12 months rather. How do we do this? There's had to be a mechanism to be able to do this fairly. Also recall, I'm just keeping and probably paying attention to the ones that matter. It did mention that, for example, the ICW, Akwa Ibom Community Watch, is going to have additional 100 per local government. How do you employ these people? So there had to be some standardized way to do that. He also did mention, this is ongoing, I think, in Dazak, they're doing some training. Who are these youths? How do you employ them, to come into the space? So these are some of the things, that prompted it. And perhaps also, he did talk about Ibom-led. They do a lot of training. Who are these people? Where do we get them from? And how do they, get selected? So perhaps, these were some of the motivation. And on that day, he promised that, the employment portal will be open September 30th. This is not quite September 30th, but, we're making progress. So you can imagine a lot of things has happened. Some will say a lot of water has gone under the bridge. So that's why we're not able to meet that timeline. But I'm happy we're here now. The portal is now complete. So that's what you will be seeing. Not yet live, and we'll explain why it's not live. So it is complete. So you understand from the youth charter, that's where this whole idea of portal came from. And you will see why we're talking about those features. Now, I will show you the portal, what it's about. This is where it would live. All right, the portal can be accessed at employment.akwaibomstate.gov.ng. All right, a small note of warning. This is not yet live, as you can imagine. All right, the demonstration or whatever I'll do today, I'm going to use some demo training domain to do that. All right, but on the 21st, in fact, what we plan to do, starting tomorrow or next, we will make this live with a bit of countdown. Is that okay, just to do a bit of teaser? So that on the 21st, it becomes live, if that makes sense. But this is not yet live. You go there, you see nothing. Is that okay? But perhaps tomorrow, there will be semi-live where you see a teaser, just doing a countdown towards the 21st of October. That's what we expect, to happen. But take note of that. Now, the objective, I've probably given out most of these and won't spend time. Forgive my spelling, I'm not sure what's going on there. The objective is to develop, deploy, and support an online platform for unemployed and underemployed youth, can register and access employment opportunities. There are like four key takeaways. It means that government would prioritize the recruitment of civil servants through this portal. So when people register, for instance, there happen to be vacancy they need to fill that are civil servant, the government will go here and advertise, for those roles, and people will be expected to apply. That is, one key feature. So that means we've gone past that era where people, become civil servants and don't know how they got the application. Government would also be able to identify the skills and capabilities among the youth. So what that means is that with this system, we can now sort of understand the kind of skill sets we have, within Akwa Ibom State. And as such, government can tailor different programs to meet the skill set and perhaps take some people out of unemployment. Government would offer funding and support to registered individuals. I give you an example. For the 5,000 that will be recruited, the governor suggested 50,000, to be paid to these guys to support their business, for 12 months. That's an example of funding opportunities provided to them. And also private employers. This is the fun part. I really think so. For example, you get a contract from government. This is something, the CPS will probably speak better than I will on this topic, but I've heard this privately. The governor talks about, moving to a scenario whereby if you get government contracts, then you should be mandated to employ Akwa Ibomites. How do you do that? So it means that the Ministry of Labor can give, an employer access, to the system, a temporary access, and he does his advertisement there, recruit people, shortlist people, employ people, and that's something really positive. That capability is also on the system. An NSEC, a UNK, any construction company, or any builder, anything, you should be able to use the portal and transparently employ people, towards government roles or your own private roles. All right, I'll just go through some of the capabilities. As you can imagine, the key thing, we would have candidates, people, the youths, that would take a benefit from these opportunities. The youths are quite a big one. Anyone employed or underemployed, we would have them on the portal. But there's some requirement. You must have a NIN. It's very critical. You must have a VIN, your NIN, national identification number. You must have a voter identification number. You must have an email that works. You must also have a bank account that works. All these details must be verified. Must be verified. There's no two ways about it. And the value of the NIN for us and this system is that every candidate has a unique profile, if that makes sense. As you can imagine, we did a bursary application, last year. We didn't use NIN. Must complete their educational qualification, their skills, the job experience, the kind of job they want to be considered for, and their pay expectation. They have to provide that. I'll show you some snippets, and hopefully that helps. They accept that invitation to be shortlisted as a candidate. If you're invited for interview, you must accept that you will turn up at that interview. It's critical. The system will track that, And also some opportunities, i.e. that ZAC has training capabilities. So some jobs involve training. The employer would select, this job I'm offering does involve training, and I want the training to be monitored. The system can do that. What do I mean? For example, the guy is turning up, at the ZAC to be trained. Some people might turn up for, and just get paid at the end of the month. They don't really attend the training. The system won't allow that. Unfortunately, you need to be there and take attendance using the system so that you could be paid. Something I left out, this is in conjunction with the Ministry of Labor and Manpower Planning. So it means that any payment part, for example, the 50,000 the government is paying 5,000 persons, will be done automatically, will be done digitally. It's not a fiscal cash transfer. So we've used different payment operators to make sure that happens at the background. So coming back again to the issue of the training, attending the training. If you don't meet a certain threshold of attendance, which was set by your employer, you will not be paid. So things like that system, does it and manages it. Then every candidate you'll soon see would have a unique profile number, UPN, randomized alphanumeric number, just to identify you, to use. Again, these are some snippets, but I probably should log in. The difficulty with demonstrating this is the different elements. So you can imagine I'm a candidate, right? That's one thing. Number two, I'm an employer, Number three, I'm an admin staff. So it's difficult to take you through one, if you like, the anatomy of one candidate through the system. It's going to be challenging. So I will just do, some snippets and perhaps go into the platform and show you some capabilities. Then we'll leave it there. But as you can imagine on the left, I will log in, I hope, to a candidate's profile and show you this. Obviously on the dashboard, this is a candidate's profile, a candidate. And as you can imagine, the system is not live, so this is all simulated. This is synthetic data. It's not real data, so don't pay too much attention to it. You have your dashboard. This is where when you log in, you see the summary of everything going on. You also see your career profile. This is the profile you created. For example, your educational background, the school you attended, the documents, whatever documents, certificates you want to attach, your previous jobs, you will find them in there. Then also the opportunities, which is the open job opportunities that has been advertised by different employers. And you could also see this on the home page without logging in. So those opportunities will be there. The open jobs, you'll find them. The interviews, you've been invited, you will see them there. The employment you've been offered via the system, you'll see them there. The training programs, if any employment involved training program and is tracked on the system, you would also see them. And whatever notifications, that we have. So it's quite straightforward. If you look to the right, a bit difficult to see, you will see the unique profile number. So this identified the candidate, on the system. That's also something we've done. And you see the profile completion score. Once you log in and provide your overview, your education, you get about 20%. So with each of those tasks completed, you get 20, you get 100%. So these are things, that we show everybody, how to do it. We also have somebody called a staff, or a capability called a staff. So this is a guy that creates and manages employers. So this is somebody ideally from the Ministry of Manpower or Labor and Manpower Planning. So they are the guys to, for example, again, forgive my keep using of NSEC. It's the only name that rings in my head, or maybe UNK. The UNK wants to employ 20, 30 persons. It goes to the Ministry of Labor and say, look, I've got 20 persons, and shows, the staff there the kind of job he wants to. The person will help curate, the opportunity. and gives the person access. So independently, you can advertise the opportunity, and manage it. So the Ministry of Labor staff would manage those opportunities. They will manage it. So they create the account for the employers. And also, say for example, the head of service thinks that he needs 1,000 civil servants. Again, it goes to the person or the people at the Ministry of Manpower, and they help them, advertise and create that role. It's not really us per se. Our job is just to look at the back end. But what we do is as you can imagine, just make sure the system works. But operationally, it still sits with the Ministry of Labor, and Manpower Planning. So we have somebody called a staff. Now, I did tell you that the employer would have a limited access on the system. You need to employ some people. We don't want to keep you there forever, as you can imagine. After you're done with the employment, you really need to leave the system. So we will give you a time scale to that. So once that time expires, your access to the system is gone, if that makes sense. If you come back again, we'll bring you back again. So that's the employer doesn't need to stay perpetually on the system, and that's the feature, we're just showing there. Then obviously the employers. This could be government, as you can imagine, and it could also be private, employers. So they'll be able to advertise their jobs. They'll be able to shortlist for interviews. They'll be able to employ people. They'll be able to do training, all on the system. And they'll be able to create and manage interviews. They'll be able to offer all the things you can imagine a typical, employer can do. They'll be able to do that. But in this case, using a system to track, what's going on. But I should stress here, we do not pay for a private firm. We only pay for government grants using the Ministry of, Labor and Manpower Planning. I should stress that. So a UK, an NSEC or whatever, we're not interested in their payment. We just, do the employment and they do their normal drill. That's it. As you can imagine, we keep the statistics and we run with it, but their payment and the management, they do that. Now, this is if you like, the big brother that looks at everybody. They are super admin. All right, he sees all happen in the system. He's the one that creates the staff. He looks at the candidates. He looks like the employers. He sees what's going on globally. So I won't probably dwell too much on that, but it's there. One thing we've done, which is perhaps we could have done without, once a candidate creates an account, we have to manually verify you, allow you access to the system. And this is just for one reason. The reason is we are not able to digitally verify your certificate of origins. As you can imagine, this is a system designed by the government of Akwa Ibom State under the leadership of Pastor Minor for Akwa Ibomites. So, and this is offered digitally. That means someone can stay in Spain, someone can stay in Lagos and claim to be Akwa Ibomite and apply onto the system. So, all right, we can see different records. If you, for example, provide your NIN returns will tell us your local government of origin and all that. But in theory, let's be really honest. When we were doing NIN registration many years ago, I don't think we fully understood the power of what that will become. So in most cases, people's local government of origin are not entirely correct at the time. Maybe now it is, but then it wasn't correct. I mean, I don't think a NIN would ask you for certificate of origin to attach a local government to you. So it means you can write rubbish. So we can't use that return alone to decide whether you're truly an Akwa Ibomite. We could have and made it automatic so that we can verify the account. So we still leave that bit so that we can compare your NIN, your BVN, and school records and decide whether you're truly an Akwa Ibomite before we confirm the account. So that is a feature, we're just showing there. So that's something I hope would work for us. Support, we plan to start with 10 staff as a lean approach. You could argue that perhaps it should be 100 or 50, perhaps so. But as the system starts, when we learn and understand the kind of support we will need, we will either grow or reduce this. So that is the plan. But also would have 2 support staff from the Ministry of Labor, and Manpower Planning, obviously to manage the different employers that will come into the system. So that is some of the thoughts we have. Where does things sit? We thought we'd just make this very clear. Operationally, we look at the system as much as we can, with the support staff, the portal management, the data warehousing, the support, all sorts, from the office of the governor. But in terms of the administrative bit, the employers, it is done by the Ministry of Labor and Manpower Planning. As you can imagine, the support for this funding is coming from that ministry as well. So they're quite important in this whole story. So at this point, what I will do, I will just show you the portal as we have it. And I should stress, ignore the URL, you're seeing. Ignore the URL. The URL is not really the live URL. Okay, so if you go there and fit data in, meaningless, completely meaningless. So please, we just use that for the purpose of demonstration and different type of test. It's only on the 21st. Yes, it's only on Monday or on the 21st that the URL will be employment.akwaibomstate.gov.ng. Employment.akwaibomstate.gov.ng. Please ignore what you find there. That's just temporal. We use that for our own test and also to showcase this. Again, before then, we'll probably just make this a bit more nicer. We're not really interested in the front page. Maybe the back, the engine behind is what we're more interested in. As you can, there's some details here that are very correct. For example, you could look at the 3 steps. You create your account, you provide your educational qualification, you upload your document, to set you up to go. And we would have some explainer videos as much as we can, so that everybody will be carried along. We would also, we mentioned here the eligibility, criteria. You must be from Akwa Ibom State. We try as much as possible to verify this, and we have a lot of data to be able to get this right, we believe. So that's something I should mention. You also have to provide your NIN and voter's identification number. You probably would argue, why do you need a voter identification number? If you're going to benefit from government, grant or services, you must be able to vote, we like to think. So it's quite important you have that as well. Then you must be unemployed or underemployed, so you define that. And you must be willing to provide your academic records. All right. A big feature on this system, I should say, you can either start a new application, if I can get that running, or if you're a registered user, you can come back in here. Now, the account, as you can imagine, as most form, is straightforward, very simple to use, and to the point. But what I probably want to show, which would catch more people out, is the verification. We've partnered with a third party firm to just do verification. I'm not gonna register here. I'm just gonna fill some very basic details. I want to showcase this, and I'd like this to also be, perhaps, magnified in the media. I'll leave this bit. And this is very important, okay? We do try to, also meet the expectation of our disabled, co-citizen, if that makes sense. If you're disabled, we want that information. For example, if you are disabled, please, you got to select it. My mouse will work. Then you will select the kind of, disability. And we got those definitions from the PA to the governor on people living with disability, so I'm not really responsible for what. If you look at it and you think that your kind of disability is not covered, please let us know. We're happy to make sure we provide that. So we make sure, and this is very important. I mean, there are some employment spaces that has to be configured to suit your kind of disability if they really want to employ you. So that information must be pushed to the employer, to be able to consider. So please take note. That is quite important. But I'll leave this for now. All right, the next thing, I'm not going to verify, so permit me to just use some gibberish. Yeah, just putting some random numbers there. And this is what I really want to show. Yeah, the liveness test. And you wonder what this is. All right, we did a service some time ago. I'm not going to mention the name of the service. All right. And we just asked people, after the buzzword experience, you think we would have learned, right? Yes, we did learn. We told people, look, you have to provide your NIN, okay? And when we asked them for NIN, we also asked them, upload a picture. Please mind my word, I said upload a picture, not, upload a picture to confirm that you own that NIN. Recall that when you did your NIN registration, you did take a picture and submitted a picture. So the plan here is that the picture you upload, we compare it, with the NIN picture. If we match a certain threshold, then we think it's you, right? All right, on this service, we asked people to upload pictures. You know what our people did? So they went around shops on NIN with the NIN slip. So that means if you type in the NIN, when I say upload a picture, you take a picture of the NIN slip. All right? That's not quite, that's not quite productive. All right, so we had to abandon that scheme completely. So that is why we've gone down this route, that you really, really, really have to do a liveness test. We need a human being to be behind the one filling this thing. We don't need some dog or some cat or some representative. We need a human being. So that is why we're going down this route. It might be frustrating, but you have to get it done. There are two ways to do it. If the device you're using to access the site has got an active camera, all you've got to do is just say device camera, and it will turn on this camera. If the device, I'll just pretend I have this camera. I think I've got a camera. I don't know whether it's turned on. Oh, no, I don't think my camera is on. Where's my camera here? I'm trying to see how to turn on this camera. I know I've got a camera on my keyboard. Forgive me for that thing that is this. All right, what I will do, you have to believe me here. Let's do another device. That's probably better. If the device like mine now doesn't have a camera, so do another device, and you will have a QR code. So all you have to do is just turn on the camera on the device you want to use and scan the QR code. So permit me to just scan it on the screen, with my camera. So once you scan the QR code, this becomes some tool to use to verify, if that's really you. I'm not sure why exactly it's loading up. So that becomes, I've got the same thing. I need to, Apple, you have to allow. So this is me now. Sorry about it. It failed, and I'll do it again. I wish I can share the screen so that we can all see. So that failed, so I'm doing it again. And you tell it to try to smile or, you act surprised, you have to act surprised, and I'll pass that. So that will come back again and you can continue because it's fast. So you will take
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was looking at my colleague, the SSA, on ICT. I knew how he looked this time last year. Very handsome, young. In fact, his hair was quite big, was afro. But now I can now understand why. But now I can now understand why he's looking about 30 years older. Don't worry about the audio. This event is being transmitted live on the state's official Facebook account and on YouTube. So you can get all the audio of this event in better quality after this event. Immediately after this event, it's actually live right now, streaming live on the Akwa Ibom State aksg. Now streaming live on the Akwa Ibom State aksg.gov.
The data of this applicant to avoid scammers, getting on the same website and then getting their data information, calling them off for jobs that are not existing, because we've had a situation like that. So what are you doing to ensure that these data are not just put out there and anyone can just go and get the data for some, negative or bad purpose? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Yes, sure.
My question goes like this. How will you do verifications? There are people that are already employed and they still want to apply. I've seen somebody has multiple employment, federal worker, state worker, private employment. How are we going to ensure we don't have those multiple applications? Another one I want to ask is, somebody that wants to register, can he register at multiple times? For instance, somebody is seeking a particular employment. Can the person also reapply? If the person doesn't have that, can he reapply? Or maybe the person is waiting for the other one. I want to also suggest that there's enough publicity for people in the rural area. We on the radio, we know that when government programs comes up, people are always saying, I've not heard of it. I've not heard of it. So I'm trying to suggest that even if it have to involve town criers, that could be applied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question will come from Inspiration FM.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Njoran Soko. My concern is on voters card being one of the requirements. We know that there are some Akwa Ibom people who are currently not in Akwa Ibom state. And as a result of that, their registration, voters card registration may carry another state. These people are interested in coming back home. There is a good opportunity. God has blessed us with a good governor, and they intend coming back home, and they want to be one of the participants, and they want to participate in this. How will this be? How will it going to affect them? Because in terms of verification, the voters card will be reading at a different state, not really Akwa Ibom state. So when we have people in such a situation, what should they do? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The question is noted. Okay, we'll have those questions now answered before we now get more.
All right. Thank you so much. I recall that before we started, we did say that success is when we have a lot of questions. So I think this is already successful. That's good to know. Yeah, someone called it an online labor market, correct? There's nothing wrong with that. You mentioned data protection amid issues of scammers. For us, we all have a role to play here, and that's why we're gathering here. The key role is, the website, we have to ensure that is the website we put out, which is employment.akwaibomstate.gov.ng. Can you stop other people trying to mimic, for example, employment.acquire.something and all that? It's difficult, isn't it? Really difficult. But as you can imagine, there's a theme and there's a flavor, for every government website. You will see that. So that's why I think with the help of the CPS and the HSA, we'll let you understand the different, themes and what to expect. The process be well documented. This is challenging to get right. So anyone trying to scam or mimic the website, it's a lot of work to be able to mimic it. So on that front is difficult. But in terms of data protection on the back end, we're using some state-of-the-art technology to make sure this data is really, really protected. And what you will find is that once you have an account, that's why you say you must have an email, you must have a phone number that works. We do turn up two-time authentication or two-factor authentication to make sure that only you have access to your data. On the back end, they're well protected, they're encrypted. There's something called hashed, in the unlikely event, and I stress, unlikely event that, somehow you can have access, the data is meaningless because we hold another key to be able to unhash that, if that makes sense. So security-wise, we look good, we really look good of this, otherwise. So security-wise, I think we're really good to do this. Someone's also asked, how do you manage people that are employed and still want to get on the system? This is not a gimmick, right? It's not some online lottery. It's someone called it an online labor market. So if you get employment, you have to work, right? So how you're able to divide yourself to do 5 work, God help you. But as far as this is concerned, no, you still have to turn up to work, if you're employed. The system tracks every activity. We have a lot more record. I can tell you that. We have different records coming from different things. And grants, another government grant, you're not able to take advantage of it. What do I mean? You can't be earning 50,000 government as a grant, unemployed, then at the same time you are undergoing DASAC training or a boom-led training. It's not possible. And when you claim any government grant, as you can imagine, you have to get down the ladder, so that other people can. But if it's a private, employer, you're welcome, to be considered for that employment. So I hope that answers this question. All right, some people to create more of those opportunities. On that note, let me invite the chairman of NGJ for his vote of thanks on this occasion.
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor and my in-law, Comrade Ekeretudo, media consultants to the Governor, Honorable Enek Hanomana, SSA Research, SSA ICT, the Police Secretary of PDP, other SSAs, distinguished colleagues, Director of Information. Let me, on behalf of my colleagues, sincerely express our delight at what our governor is always doing, putting the people first. And when you put the people first, you are building a bigger society. And in this instance, you are building a productive society. And today, there's a new horizon upon Akwa Ibom. There's a foundation being laid. and it's a future our youths will look up to. There are new opportunities that will come up, and our youths, the unemployed, now have a window to key into various opportunities. Let me thank the SSA for a job well done, thoroughly research yourself and your team. And I want to assure you that we will project this, awaiting when this kickoff will start formally on Monday. And I can assure you that the fears, the concerns, especially getting this message to the rural areas, will be highly comprehensively taken care of. We will do our very best, and we believe that this is a new future of making Akwa Ibom State build on our human capacity in all our endeavors. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Parents can now be effectively turned off. Thank you very much.